It's being described as an epidemic. Up to 30 players are missing from this World Cup due to ACL injuries, including Lionesses captain Leah Williamson and Euro's Golden Boot winner Beth Mead.
It's really very, very disappointed and sad for the players. So of course now Beth Mead is out, Leah's out. Unfortunately, that's also part of top sport, so that you sometimes lose players for a moment because they're injured, and then we have to move on.
Chloe Kelly knows just how they feel after experiencing the same injury 2 years ago.
One of the toughest moments of my life. There's so many dark days in that where it is really lonely, and because you're not on the pitch, you're in the gym, separated from all the team. It was 11 months I was out away from the pitch, so it was really difficult for me.
Fortunately for Kelly, she recovered in time for the Euros and cemented her place in Lionesses history. But at this World Cup, many won't set foot on the pitch due to ACL injuries. It's become prevalent in the women's game. One area of concern is the increase in workload on players.
The loading on players has to be looked at, and that's what we want to try and work with clubs and players on. Is, of course, with the evolution of the game and the demand that we now have, the new Nations League, the new format of Champions League, the cup competitions in a domestic game, you know, players are playing many minutes.
But it's not just workload that's causing the issue. Knee surgeon Andy Williams says women are 7 times more likely to tear their ACL compared to men.
There is an anatomic issue with the knee joint. If you look at most footballers on a team photo, they can have bowed legs, the males. Women are straighter. Some have even been knock-kneed, and being knock-kneed is a particular risk factor for ACL rupture.
Football boots being designed predominantly for men could also be an issue.
They need to measure and actually design the football boot for women. Women are lighter and don't generate the same speed as men do. They need shorter studs because that way they won't get stuck in the ground, and that's one of the mechanisms we see with ACL injuries.
Many brands, including Nike and Adidas, have started designing boots for women, which is a step in the right direction. And research on the issue as a whole is ongoing.
We're working with different universities, we're partnered with 10 high-performance centres, so we're driving different performance questions around what might impact these injuries. Again, whether that be looking at pitches, whether that be looking at footwear, whether that be looking at menstrual cycle, they're all connected in so many ways.
There's already a lot of knowledge, but we have to use everything in the right way and get more research in, so we can facilitate the players better and make the chance of injuries, any injury, as low as possible.
Well, Katie Shanahan's going to be with the England team all throughout the tournament. But let's talk about the problem of ACL injuries, which have absolutely plagued England in their build-up, and not just this England side as well. It is a huge issue, Karen. It's a huge problem, and it doesn't necessarily feel like we fully understand it yet.
No, I mean, there's so many factors into that, and if we don't understand, it means we need more research, and there's such a lack of research into female elite bodies. What do we need? And for, like you said, it's stealing all our best players, not just from England, just from around the world. And we're not able to see this talent because we are unaware, the lack of facilities, the lack of resources. But research, we need more, and specifically for women.
Emma, you've watched the game grow so close, and you've been such a part of it, especially with your island side, making that change happen and trying to get more support around the team. As you watch the women's game become professional and elite standards, do you agree with Karen? Do you think that that should come hand in hand, the understanding of a woman's body and how it can be different?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we are different physically than the men. We need, you know, tests solely for women. We can't be mirroring the same strategies that the men have. It has to be, you know, for females, completely for females, because, you know, it's happening too much now, and there's obviously something we need to change with that. But as you said, because the women's game has grown so much and so rapidly, so too needs the tests and the developments outside of that, and the staff, all of that needs to catch up with it.
Not only that, we also have other things to talk about as well, because several teams have had disputes with their federations in the build-up to this World Cup. It includes the other teams in Group B, Canada and Nigeria. And you can add to that the well-known dispute as well between the Spanish side and their coach, which we have discussed extensively in shows that you and I have done, Karen. You've just completed this independent report that was commissioned by the government. You had a lot of research, a lot of work to do on it. What did you find?
Yeah, and specifically into obviously women's football, and I just think that we've mentioned it there on the medical care and what females need, but the protocols for players. You know, we're on the eve of, we're going into the World Cup game now, and we're speaking about all these issues instead of actually talking about football, because, like Emma said, the speed of the game is growing, but the protocols, player union representation, all those issues that protect the players and just enable them to go and play are just not there, and that's frustrating, because all we want to do is watch these amazing women go do their thing, but there's just so many issues that are preventing them at this moment.
It feels as well, Emma, doesn't it, that it's, like Karen says, it's a World Cup and it should be about football, but it also feels like actually it's the biggest talking point in women's football right now, and it's never been bigger. So in a way, they almost have to use this as a platform.
Yeah, I think so, and unfortunately that's how things go. You know, they're using this stage to show the problems in women's football in general. And I think it's generally just this era of women's football that we're fighting, we're constantly fighting to get better things, and hopefully some stage in the future we won't have to do that. But I think at this moment in time it's what needs to be done.
Do you find that as well, Karen? You guys are of that generation where you saw so much change in so much of a small space in time. The women's footballers now, currently, and definitely you guys as well, they're expected to also be politicians in a way and speak to the media about really significant topics, as well as trying to grow the game and spread knowledge about it too. It's a lot.
I think that's what probably why us as former players have got to try and push that as well, to take the pressure off the players, because they've got to go and play, and we want them to go and express themselves, but we have to use our platform to express the issues, because otherwise the game will never get to where we believe it can and should be.